Almost all the pharmacological effects of anticholinesterase are due to the inhibition of acetylcholinesterase, but the consequences are accumulation of lot of acetylcholine. But at the neuromuscular junction or the motor end plate of the skeletal muscles, most of the acetylcholinesterase is localized at the surface, and infoldings of the prejunctional membrane will be present, and it is situated strategically for the rapid hydrolysis of the acetylcholine following the production of an end plate potential. So the meaning is, whenever the acetylcholine esterase is going to act, means whenever there is a quantal release of the acetylcholine esterase, which will going to initiate the action on the end plate potential, and this is going to be turned like a flash-like action, whereas the acetylcholinesterase is synthesized in nerve and muscle tissues, as already it is informed. And how this storage and release of the acetylcholine occurs means, just like the other receptors, it is going to be synthesized and it is going to be stored and it is going to be released. At membrane potential 0.1 to 3 millivolt, there will be spontaneous depolarization at frequencies approximately 1 per second. So usually there is the resting membrane potential is minus 70 millivolt, and the resting membrane potential is maintained by the potassium pump and sodium pump. So always it is negative. Then because of this negativity, it is in quiescent position. But the membrane potential of 0.1 to 3 millivolts, there will be spontaneous depolarization occurs at frequency of approximately 1 per second. The magnitude of these miniature end plate potentials, it is also known as MEPPS, is considerably below the threshold required to fire a muscle action potential. Here, the miniature end plate potential is produced because of the small release of the acetylcholine in the neuroeffector junction, which always makes or keeps the membrane to ready for contraction. It is required, that's known as the miniature end plate potential. The likely morphological counterpart of the quantal release of the release of the neurotransmitter was discovered shortly thereafter in the form of the synaptic vesicles. So usually the synaptic vesicles, the acetylcholine is stored after its synthesis is concerned. And then when action potential arrives at the motor nerve terminal, especially in the skeletal muscles, so there is action potential arises. There is synchronous release of 100 or more quanta of the acetylcholine. So whenever the action potential comes, the release of the 100 or more quanta of the acetylcholine in the muscle cells, and depolarization of the terminal permits the influx of calcium through the voltage dependent calcium channel. So here also the very similar to that of the smooth muscles, there is inward current, inward movement of the sodium ions to the sodium channels because of the voltage gated ion channel opening, which also induces the calcium channel to open. And this influx of the calcium in some way facilitates the fusion of the axonal and vesicular membranes at active zones, resulting in the extrusion of content of the vesicles. Yes, once the action potential comes, then almost all the vesicles do accumulate that of the acetylcholine, then exocytosis occurs. Here there are certain toxins which are having no therapeutic activity, but they are the diagnostic tool for evaluation of the action of the acetylcholine. The number one is the Clostridium toxins. What they are going to do? The release of the acetylcholine and other neurotransmitters by exocytosis through the prejunctional membrane is inhibited by the Clostridium toxins. Clostridium toxins. And some of the most potent toxins known are produced by this microbe, maybe the Clostridium tetani or Clostridium, and many species of the Clostridium, they do release different toxins, and these different toxins act at different sites. And some of the most potent toxins known are produced by this particular microbe, and Clostridium toxins inhibit synaptobrevin. It's also part of the docking complex and related proteins in the nerve terminal. So what happens? The Clostridium toxins, they are uptaken in the nerve tissue, then they are going to inhibit the synaptobrevin, especially in the nerve tissues, and internalization in turn enables the small subunit of the proteolyzed synaptobrevin or other target protein. So because of this thing, what happens? The docking complex is inhibited. The fusion between the membranes containing vesicles with that of the this presynaptic membrane will be inhibited, so that acetylcholine is not released into the synaptic cleft and no action will be initiated. So this is about the Clostridium toxins. Varieties of the toxins are situated by the Clostridium botulism, Clostridium tetani, and many of the Clostridium species. The botulinum toxin A binds to the cholinergic motor nerve terminal, especially the cholinergic motor nerve terminal, giving rise to flaccid paralysis. Here, what happens is many times the Clostridium toxins, they are going to bind with that of the what you call as the vesicular site, and they're going to inhibit the fusion of the vesicles with that of the presynaptic membrane. Then there is no release of the acetylcholine from the vesicles. And the different toxins like botulinum toxin A binds to cholinergic motor nerve terminals, giving rise to the flaccid paralysis. Paralysis occurs due to the, not due to continuous what you call as the stimulation, just like acetylcholinesterase inhibitors, OPC compounds, they are going to fasciculate what you call as the proteins, the fasciculate the muscles, skeletal muscles continuously, whereas and cause the that's paralysis. That's known as the spastic paralysis. Whereas the flaccid paralysis is the one in which the acetylcholine is not at all released into the neuroeffector junction and the muscle become very much relaxed. That's called as the paralysis, or that is known as the flaccid paralysis. And the another toxin, that's the tetanus toxin, it's also from Clostridium. It selectively binds and enters spinal neurons where it blocks the glycine release and causes spastic paralysis. So glycine is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. So inhibition of inhibitory neurotransmitter causes the excitation. That's why the tetanus toxin, which is secreted from the organism Clostridium tetani, is going to bind and enter spinal neurons where it blocks the glycine release and cause the spastic paralysis. And once internalized, the larger subunit function of a selective zinc dependent protease and hydrolyze the target protein. So once internalized means once it is taken up, it is going to bind, especially the Clostridium toxins are very much dangerous. They are highly potent in nature and they are going to bind with that of the docking complex and also zinc dependent protease and hydrolyze the target protein. So another thing is the toxins from the black widow spider. Black widow spider, it is also alpha laterotoxin, promotes the massive vesicular release presumed by binding the neuroxins on the neuronal membrane. So in opposite to that of the tetanus toxide, the toxin from the black widow spider, it's also known as alpha laterotoxin, promotes the massive release, vesicular release, presumably by binding to the neurexins. It's also one of the part of the docking complex which docks the postsynaptic, these presynaptic vesicles with that of the synaptic membrane, and causes the and causes the toxicity. So this is the diagrammatic representation. See it very carefully so that you can understand the entire process of the neurohumoral transmission of cholinergic nerves. So here ACH or CH means the choline. Choline is here the choline is uptaken from the axonal terminal inside the exoplasm, because whenever there is action of acetylcholine esterase on that of the acetylcholine, it is going to release the choline and acetic acid. Acetic acid is getting dissipated from the synaptic cleft, whereas the choline that is produced is uptaken by the synaptic vesicles. So here CHAT means choline acetyltransferase. There are two enzymes. One is the choline acetyltransferase and another one is the acetylcholine esterase. Two enzymes are present. The choline acetyltransferase is present in the presynaptic membrane inside the presynaptic cells, which is going to convert the choline into acetylcholine. Whereas the M is the muscarinic type of the receptor here. Here the M is the muscarinic type and N is the nicotinic type. He3 means the hemicolinum. Hemicolinum inhibits the uptake up of the choline. That's why acetylcholine is not produced and hence the paralysis occurs. BOT means botulinum toxin. BOT is botulinum toxin, is going to inhibit the release of the acetylcholine and causes the paralysis, flaccid paralysis. VSA means the vesamicol. VSA means vesamicol. It's going to inhibit the uptake of the what you call as the acetylcholine into the storage vesicles. So all these are going to cause the paralysis. And sodium CHAT means sodium choline transporter is required for the transport of the what you call as the sodium and also the choline molecule inside the synaptic membrane. So this is the presynaptic membrane, where in which this the choline which is produced due to destruction of acetylcholine is what you call as uptaken from the neuronal terminal, and the hemicolinum is going to block it, and also the CHAT or choline acetyltransferase enzyme is going to convert choline into acetylcholine. Then the acetylcholine is taken up into the storage vesicle, which is going to be blocked by vesamicol, and the acetylcholine is also going to act on the muscarinic receptors which are present on the presynapses and going to inhibit the release of the acetylcholine. So it's going to act on the muscarinic and the nicotinic type of the receptors, in which the acetylcholine esterase is going to break down the acetic acid into and choline. So this is about the release and synthesis of the acetylcholine. And the same is dealt here with a little elaborated manner. The same thing, the hemicolinum is going to inhibit the uptake of the choline from the surrounding tissue, surrounding membrane, in which this sodium gate is very much required. Whereas ATP is converted to ADP in case, and the sodium potassium ATPase will act, whereas the sodium will come inside and potassium will go inside. So varieties of the mitochondria and other things are present, in which the choline, acetylcholine is synthesized, because the acetyl-CoA should be coming from the mitochondria. It is going to combine with that of the choline with choline acetyltransferase enzyme. The acetylcholine is uptaken into the storage vesicles, which is inhibited by vesamicol. Then acetylcholine which is stored in the synaptic vesicles is going to be released with that of the docking complexes, and here both type of the receptors are there, muscarinic and nicotinic type of the receptors are present, whereas this acetylcholinesterase enzyme will be present in the synaptic cleft and destroys the acetylcholine, and it is acetylcholine is transferred to choline as well as the acetate, and the different type of the cholinergic muscarinic receptors are also there, NN and NM, whereas the M1 to M type of receptors are being acted by the acetylcholine esterase enzyme. So this is also another diagrammatic representation very similar to that of the earlier thing. So this is more clear, I think. Axonal terminal, this is the axonal terminal. Then the mitochondria will donate the coenzyme A. Then the acetyl coenzyme A is choline acetyl transferase is an enzyme, and ultimately because of the action, the choline is uptaken from the synaptic vesicles. This uptaken one, then it's combined with that of the acetyl CoA. Both of these are secreted by the mitochondria, and ultimately the acetylcholine esterase is produced. This acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter, is produced, and it is uptaken by the synaptic vesicles. It is going to have the exocytosis, and it's going to act on the postsynaptic membrane, maybe the receptors, muscarinic and nicotinic type of the receptors. So usually the acetylcholine is broken down into choline and acetate. Acetate is going to dissipate, and choline is once again reuptaken, which combines with the acetyl-CoA to form acetylcholine. So this is the acetylcholine is made from the choline and acetyl-CoA, and in synaptic cleft, this is the synaptic cleft, acetylcholine is rapidly broken down by acetylcholine esterase enzyme. This enzyme is present, and it's going to break down the acetic acid into choline, very flash-like action, and this is the postsynaptic cell. Whereas the choline is transported back into the axon terminal and is used to make acetylcholine. So this is very simply you can understand this type of the action about the synthesis of the acetylcholine, and some of the toxins are also going to act just like the hemicolinum is going to block this uptake of the choline, and the botulinum toxin is going to inhibit the release of the acetylcholine, and storage is released by the tetanus toxin. So all these things are very clear. Hope you very clear. And this is once again another diagrammatic representation. Whenever the nerve impulse comes, there will be depolarization, and there will be calcium influx from the cell. So choline, once again, this is the same thing. Choline is uptaken from the extracellular fluid via sodium dependent carrier mediated, and this is a rate limiting step, and hemicolinum is going to inhibit the choline uptake, whereas the acetylcholine which is formed is uptaken into the vesicles, which is inhibited by the vesamicol, and all these are going to cause the paralysis, and calcium is going to come inside, and ultimately the exocytosis occurs, and this exocytosis or the release of the acetylcholine from the nerve endings is blocked by botulinum toxin, and the acetylcholine post junction. There are two type of the receptors are present, M type and N type, and the acetic acid is the acetylcholine is restricted to form the acetaldehyde and the choline. So some of the cholinesterase inhibitors, they are going to increase the quantity of acetylcholine in the nerve terminals and exaggerated action, whereas the acetylcholine is broken down into choline and acetate with the help of the enzyme acetylcholine esterase. This is the simple gist how the acetylcholine is produced. and how it is released and how it is going to be destructed. That's about the today's class is concerned.